Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Pac-12 Chalk Talk, your home for everything Pac-12 sports. My name is Pierce Bly, and I'm ready to go dancing. Now meet our panel. We have from left to right Nick Merrick, Mariah Baker, and Robbie Baker. After an exciting end to the regular season, we're ready for the Pac-12 tournament. The 12 teams will play 11 games in 4 days, and the last team standing will earn themselves an automatic bid into the Big Dance, which starts next week. The top 4 teams, Washington, Cal, Oregon, and Arizona, and they've all earned themselves a first-round bye. So we start with the matchup of the 8 and 9 seeds, Oregon State and Washington State. Nick, who do you see coming out ahead in this one?
Pierce, great question. Actually, one of the more intriguing matchups in the opening round is it's the two teams paired side by side in the standings. And you're going to have two top players out there with Jared Cunningham and Brock Modem, both legitimate Pac-12 Player of the Year contenders. So, guys, it's going to be really interesting to see who's going to come out of it. But when it comes down to things, I'm going to go with the big man and Brock Modem because usually forwards have a tendency to do well in tournaments. So I'm going to say Washington State gets the nice win in the first round.
And you know what, Nick? I actually disagree with you here. I am a huge Jared Cunningham fan, as we all know, averaging 18.2 points per game right now. I have him controlling the flow of this game and ultimately leading his team to a victory over Washington State.
Yeah, I have Oregon State as well with Jared Cunningham and Devon Collier. This Oregon State team is very deep. Really all Washington State has is Brock Modem. I think Oregon State's depth will prevail and the Beavers will win that game.
Our next matchup pits a pair of teams who are both essentially playing a home game at the Staples Center, USC and UCLA. USC finished with the worst record in the league this season, but do the Trojans have a chance to pull an upset here, Mariah?
You know what? I don't think that there is any way, anyhow, that the Trojans can upset UCLA here. The Bruins are too strong defensively and offensively. There's no way UCLA can pull down from the bottom of the standings and triumph the Bruins here.
Yeah, it is definitely going to be a win for UCLA. The Trojans are awful this year. They're 1-14 in their last 15 games. UCLA has won 3 of their last 4. Easy win for the Bruins.
I got to agree with you guys both. The one thing I'm just going to add, because I agree with everything, is we just mentioned in the last segment how Coach Kevin O'Neill is in the hot seat. So, honestly, is he going to have a chance to get an upset? Very doubtful with the coach in jeopardy, the team not playing well, bottom of the Pac-12. They're going to stay at the bottom of the Pac-12.
For our third game, we pit two teams coming off upset wins against their rivals on Sunday. So, Robbie, who you got in the Stanford-Arizona State matchup?
Do you guys smell that? No, Mariah, that's not me. That's an upset I'm smelling because Arizona State is going to pull an upset in this game because Stanford has had an up and down year all season. ASU has come off a huge win over their rivals, the U of A, just on Sunday. Very recently, I think ASU will ride that momentum into an upset victory over the Stanford Cardinal.
Easy there, Robbie. Don't get too excited just yet. They only have 10 wins on the season thus far as Arizona State. I will give it to you, that was a huge victory against their cross-state rivals, but how much are they going to be able to take into that Stanford game? If you do look at Stanford, sure, they have gone in the second half not as much as they want to, but I'm not going to jump on the Arizona State bandwagon just yet. Coach Herb Sendek not really getting his team prepared as he'd like to. Last game he did, that was the only exception and the one outlier we've seen all year, so I'm going to go with Stanford.
And you know what, Nick, I'm agreeing 100% here. We saw the ASU-Stanford matchup. Stanford coming out triumphant, 68-44 there. I see a same turnout for this game.
Rounding out the first round, we've got the newest additions to the conference, Utah and Colorado. Nick, who you got in this one?
Guys, this one's an easy pick for me. If you look at Utah, they're at the 11 seed, the second worst in the Pac-12. Really not too much difference with USC. And Colorado, the 6th seed, playing pretty decent basketball all around, really getting inside and an outside game. Bunch of players scoring in double digits, playing team basketball, and that's going to easily catapult them to the first round victory.
And you know what, Nick? I'm agreeing with you again here. We saw the Buffs come up clutch here. We know that the Buffs and Utah both ended on tough losses this past week, but I think the Buffs will pull it together and come out victorious.
I guess I know I was picked on in school now because I was different, and I'm different here again with you guys. I think Utah is going to get the win in this game. I just don't see Colorado being able to win on the road or at neutral sites because they haven't all year. I just don't think they're going to pull that together and turn that around in tournament time. I think if Utah can control the tempo in this game, they will win, and I think that's exactly what they will do.
I can't imagine why anyone would ever want to pick on you, Robbie. But we now move into the second round where Washington will take on the winner of Oregon State and Washington State. Guys, Washington is the #1 seed in the tournament. Is there any chance of an upset here, Mariah?
You know what? I don't think so. We know Oregon State hasn't lived up to their potential this entire season, but I have to give it to Washington and Tony Roten here. We saw them come out triumphant 75-72 last time these two teams met. I do think it'll be a close game, but I see Washington coming out triumphant here.
Yeah, this will be an easy win for Washington. They're a much deeper team. Oregon State is a good team, but Washington is a much better team, and they will easily get the victory.
Another thing, here's a team, Washington, that's been able to stomp all year long when you look at who they played in their schedule and getting on right off the bat as Washington Huskies and really taking their foot and putting it down on the opponent's throats. So if they could do that in their first round matchup, it doesn't matter who they play, whether it's Oregon State or Washington State, it's going to be a victory for the Huskies.
Now, you all picked the Bruins to beat the Trojans, but Robbie, can UCLA stay alive against Arizona?
I don't think so, Pierce. I think Arizona will win this game. They have something to prove after losing that game on Sunday to ASU. I think that will give some extra fire to them. They'll come out with fire. They'll come out with some passion. They will get an easy win over the Bruins.
I would agree here. They are looking for a little bit of revenge. I think they're going to build after that loss and give them a swing of momentum, in all honesty, against UCLA here. They're out for blood, and I think they'll come out victorious.
Here's where it's my chance to kind of stand out from the pack. And guys, I'm actually going to go with UCLA. I understand that Sean Miller has that program well in hand, and that I can agree with you to some extent that they are going to have a chance for revenge. But if you look at the last meeting between UCLA and Arizona, it was very close. It was a game that Arizona had to squeak out at home in the McHale Center. Now UCLA playing at Staples Center, where they're much more comfortable, and they have been all season long. So that could be the upset I'm going to see in the second round.
California, the number 2 seed in the tournament, takes on the winner of Stanford ASU. Nick, you had the Cardinal topping the Sun Devils. Do you see a repeat on Sunday with the Golden Bears falling to Stanford again?
I'm going to have to go with California, Pearson. Honestly, Stanford or ASU, neither one of them really have the depth, the intensity, the drive to beat this California team. Here's California, who was almost ahead of Washington in the standings if it wasn't for their last couple of slip-ups there at the end of the year. So California is almost playing like a 1 seed, almost deserving of it, which is why I think it's going to be a breeze for the Golden Bears.
You know what, Nick? I'm going to agree with you again here. We did see them lose, but only by a slim margin to Stanford just last weekend. I think under Gutierrez and Crabbe, I think they will come out triumphant against Stanford, but by a close matchup here.
Yeah, and I had ASU getting to this game against Cal. Either way, Cal's going to win this game. Cal's a very good team. They have earned the position that they have put themselves in for the tournament with their regular season play, and they will move on in this tournament game.
After Arizona's loss to Arizona State on Sunday, Oregon is playing for the at-large bid that Arizona most likely lost. But they need a strong game against Colorado to make that a reality. Mariah, are the Ducks moving on?
You know what? Honestly, I don't see the Ducks moving on here. We see Colorado and Oregon tied at 1 win apiece against matchups this past season. Andre Robertson, he's too strong for these Ducks to handle. Colorado is the best field goal defensive team in the Pac-12, and I see that carrying them through to the next round.
I had Utah beating Colorado in the first round, and I think Oregon is going to kind of be the Cinderella of this Pac-12 tournament, and they're going to get that at-large bid out of the Pac-12 with their play in this tournament, and I think they will beat Utah. I honestly think they could beat Colorado if Colorado is who they play as well.
Interesting point, Robbie, because you had Colorado dropping to Utah, and I'm going with Mariah actually as well, as I think Colorado's going to be able to do it. Don't need to go over the same stats because I had the same what's in front of me. That's going to prove its worth, and the field goal percentage, the turnover ratio, everything like that. I'll throw another one, and they only had 12 turnovers per game in conference play. That's very sound basketball. That's what playing like teams like. That's how teams make late tournaments, and that's what's going to determine a potential Pac-12 championship. So I have them going on to the semis.
On Friday, we've got the Final Four of the Pac-12 tournament. Robbie, who's getting the championship berth on the left half of the bracket?
Left half of the bracket, Pierce, the Oregon and Cal game is where I have it right now, and I think it's going to be Oregon over Cal. Cal has struggled down the stretch here, losing 2 straight. Oregon has won 4 in a row. Now, their only loss before that 4-win streak was actually to Cal, but it was only by 3 points. So as I see my bracket filling out, I have Oregon going to that final game.
And see, my final game here is a bit different. I have Arizona versus Washington. We have Roten versus Fogg. Ultimately, I see Arizona going to the championship here, and I think they'll pull out the championship win.
I love this, guys, because here's where our brackets start to separate. In my semifinal, I had Colorado versus Cal, and in that one, I'm going to go with Colorado once again. I just think they're doing so many good things. They're outperforming on the rebounds. If you look at it, they had 3 players in double digits against California last time they played, and Roberson has 15 rebounds, which is an all-conference contender.
Some great points right there, but Nick, who are you taking on the right half?
On the right half, when it comes down to it, Washington versus UCLA, this might be the most interesting matchup should it come down to it in the semis. I'm going to have to ride Washington Huskies. They are too strong of a team for everything that we've mentioned. I'm not sure the Ware brothers, Joshua Smith, their forwards are kind of lacking this season over in Los Angeles, so not sure if UCLA could pull up the biggest upset as I have them getting the upset, the smaller upset over Arizona. I'm not sure they're going to be able to do it against the Huskies, so Huskies moving on to the finals.
And I have a slightly different matchup here. For my other semifinal game, I have Cal versus Colorado. Last time these two teams met, we saw Cal come out triumphant, 70-57. I don't see any difference in this final turnout here.
And right now, I have Washington and U of A in this game, and it'll be an easy win for Washington in my books. Lorenzo Romar was named the Pac-12 Coach of the Year. He's the coach of Washington, and I think that Washington is a better coach team, and that they will get the victory and move on to the championship game.
And it all comes down to this: with a guaranteed trip to the NCAA tournament on the line, who will be the victor of the Pac-12 tournament? Mariah, let's start with you.
Well, as we know, my championship game is going to come down to Cal and Arizona here. Earlier I mentioned Crab and Gutierrez. I only see them being a deadly combo in this championship game. Ultimately, too much for those Wildcats to handle. I see Cal scoring that bid and moving on to the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, my championship game right now is Washington and Oregon. I think Washington will win this game, but Gus Johnson, eat your heart out, because this is going to be a very close game down the stretch. I think Washington will end up outlasting the Ducks, but I think it'll be close down to the end. And I also think that Oregon getting to this championship game, if it works out like I think it will, that will get them the at-large bid.
Guys, it's a mini bracketology, so why not be bold at your picks? I'm going with Colorado winning this whole thing. Before you guys start questioning me, let me go on a little rant here and prove my point. If you look at the Pac-10, now Pac-12 tournament the past couple of years, only one top 2 seed, a.k.a. this year, Washington or Cal, has won it since 2006. That means we've had a 6 seed, a couple of 3 seeds in Washington, a 4 seed win this one. So I'm going to go with the 6 seed, Colorado. They have one guy off their bench. Askia Booker is averaging 10-plus points per game off the bench for Colorado to end the season off. That's the kind of play that we're looking for, and they're going to take a potential bid away from one of the bubble teams looking to get in the March Madness.
Now, Nick, as Robbie mentioned earlier, Colorado has had a tough time on the road. Do you think they can score those wins in LA?
I understand that point, and you look at it, they are only 3-6 on the road, 8-1 at home. That's what's going against me, so of course not going to really bring it up. But their wins have been against some decent teams. Obviously, I understand that a couple of them came from Utah, one against Arizona State, but it's all about getting that team together. And if you get that mentality that you could do it, anything could happen. It's bracketology, it's March Madness, it's all the conference tournaments. So it's interesting. I want to be a little bold. I don't want to ride the Husky bandwagon, so why not be a little different?
Okay.
We've come to the end of another episode of Pac-12 Chalk Talk. To stay connected with the Pac-12, be sure to follow Chalk Talk on Twitter, Facebook, and subscribe right here on YouTube. For Nick Merrick, Mariah Baker, and Robbie Baker, I'm Pierce Bly, and we'll see you next week.